Vlog 6, Brave Conversations. Brave conversations are conversations that are had to resolve conflict. It is important to do things to help you and the other person feel safe enough before engaging in these conversations. Some examples of what I might do prior to engaging a conversation would be ensuring my basic needs are met by having eaten and being well hydrated, getting enough sleep, doing some grounding exercises, and establishing what my boundaries are within the relationship. Some examples of what can be done for the other person are ensuring that the conversation is had in an appropriate and comfortable environment or area, encouraging their questions during the conversation, and acknowledging and respecting their boundaries within the relationship. In a brave conversation, you would thank them for meeting with you and acknowledge your part in the conflict. Then explore the conflict, letting them tell their story, showing compassion and asking questions, in addition to telling your side of the story. After this, you would work together to problem solve for solutions. Brave conversations are made up of compassionate statements and curious questions known as the two keys of loving justice. Compassionate statements can express empathy and kindness and validate the other person's experience. These include statements of self compassion. Some compassionate statements would include your feelings are normal, it's okay to feel the way you're feeling, I'm here for you, I'm listening, and this sounds like a very difficult situation for you. Some statements of self compassion would include I'm learning to be a better person every day. My boundaries keep me safe. My needs are important, and I love myself unconditionally. Questions of curiosity are meant to understand the feelings and perspectives of the other person in the conflict instead of assigning blame. Some examples could be what emotions are you experiencing? What are your concerns around this situation? What steps can we take to rebuild trust and understanding between each other? Can you add any additional context? What do you need from me? And can you help me understand? Firm boundaries are also an important part of brave conversations. Firm boundaries are non negotiable expectations on what behaviors or actions are acceptable or unacceptable. An example of a firm boundary is when I have told my friend that I spoke about in the previous vlog that messaging me incessantly late at night when they are intoxicated is unacceptable because it triggers me, and because it has been affecting my sleep, which affects my own mental health. I have recently turned the notifications off on my phone as setting the boundary of not contacting past a certain time didn't work. When they are intoxicated and I don't respond, there are messages of accusing me of not caring and threatening to unalive themselves while refusing to reach out to other supports or crisis lines. I have had to reinforce that I am not available on a whim, that I have other obligations, and that other resources must be accessed. By making myself unavailable after a certain time or when I am otherwise occupied, I am enforcing the boundary that I have set. I have offered compassionate statements such as telling them that their feelings are normal and validating that what they are experiencing is a difficult and challenging situation to go through, and I have provided some requested resources after asking what they needed. I acknowledge that the conversation can go further with additional curious questions. The conversation I had with my fellow supervisor in Vlog 3 could also be considered a brave conversation. I had invited them to speak privately, and I acknowledged them taking the time to meet with me. We both explored our sides of the story. They heard my side of the story about feeling disrespected, and I then invited them to tell their side of the story. We were able to work together and have a more cohesive team moving forward. When having a brave conversation, it's important to keep in mind how your body is feeling and the emotions that you are experiencing, as well as what thoughts are going through your head. This is important to be aware of where you are in the window of transformation or fight, flight, freeze, fawn response. This awareness can help you do what you need to take a break or use somatic practices to reconnect your body and mind. It is also important to be aware of our core conflict values when having brave conversation because they will help keep us grounded and guide us in our darkest moments. Additionally, it will be important to keep safety in mind when having a brave conversation with others or considering a brave conversation with someone. If it is an unsafe situation due to violence or other forms of abuse, a brave conversation would not be possible. An example of a situation where when a brave conversation was not an option was following a conflict with a client at work. They were escalated outside, and I approached to determine their needs, and we previously had a good rapport. The client charged at me and violently swung at me. When I saw the client next from a distance, they were very aggressive in their speech and manner towards me. A brave conversation was not an option in that situation as safety was a concern. This conflict is also an example of being aware of how we are feeling in our body, the emotions we are experiencing, and the thoughts going through our head. I was thinking that I had a good rapport with the client and could approach even while they were escalated, and ignored the tension I was feeling and the worry I felt and the opposing thoughts of something happening. This example shows that brave conversations are not an option when violence is involved, and to be aware of the thoughts we are having and what your body is feeling and the emotions we are experiencing.